Hello again, and we're live. Back online. I'm gonna read you the next story, which I have never read myself. It's gonna be Two and Two and Two. It features the main cast without Pinkie Pie. So, let's see what the story is about. But it's Two and Two and Two by Mayclore. Twilight. It's a random story. It has almost 3,000 words. Twilight and her friends learn that the prolonged exposure to the power of Pinkie Pie can cause some rather interesting side effects, an unbearably silly idea that wouldn't go away until I wrote it down. So, we're gonna get into that right now. Two and Two and Two by Mayclore. Rarity sauntered down the street, admiring the lovely spring day. She was on her way to the library to see Twilight. Normally, this would be the day that she and Fluttershy would go to the spa, but Pegasus was occupied with the bunny census. Not willing to go alone, for her the spa days were less about the spa experience itself than catching up with her friends. She was looking for a pony to take with her. She had been denied twice already. Applejack was smack in the middle of apple bucking and had no time to spare. Rainbow Dash reacted to the idea of going in her usual fashion, whining about how the spa was too boring and too frilly, and that she had tricks to try out, and flew off to practice or something. The purple unicorn, however, was a reliable substitute. Although she had the habit of reading during her pony pet eye, Twilight was always a good source of conversation. Her level-headed nature made it easy for Rarity to bounce ideas off, and though she wouldn't always admit it, Twilight did like being pampered every once in a while. Rarity stopped for a moment, having arrived at the great library tree. She peeked in through a window to make sure Twilight was at home. Sure enough, she was settled at a table looking at a tremendously large book of some sort. Turning on her charm, Rarity went into the door and walked in. "Good afternoon, darling," she chirped happily. Twilight looked up and gave her friend a smile, but her eyes betrayed a sliver of worry. "Hello, Rarity. What brings you here?" "Fluttershy had to cancel our weekly get-together, and I was looking for some pony to come with me to the spa," she explained, walking closer to the other unicorn. She couldn't help but notice the book. It was a hardbound beast of a tome with a black cover, and it looked exceptionally grim. The pages weren't yellowed like some of Twilight's books. In fact, they looked nearly brand new. "My word, what are you reading?" "Oh, this book? This is a book I requested from the Canterlot Library," she said as Rarity came closer to examine it. It's a complete, nearly complete anyway, history of the elements of harmony." Rarity blinked down at the text. "Did something happen? Is something about to happen?" she asked nervously. Every time those magical artifacts popped up, it seemed Equestria went off the deep end, requiring the 6 ponies from Ponyville to fix it. "No, everything's just fine. I just..." Twilight sighed, looking at one's word and ashamed to be worried. Rarity looked at her with concern and patiently waited for her to continue. "I heard a story recently. It's a crazy rumor, but I don't know, it just bothers me." The white unicorn frowned. She had a direct experience with the power of rumors, both good and bad. "Tell me all about it, dear. Perhaps I can help you clear the air." Twilight's face became awkwardly serious. "Well, it's about Pinkie Pie. I heard some pony say she actually has 6 legs." Rarity stared at her blankly for a moment. "Beg pardon?" "You know the expression, putting 2 and 2 together?" Rarity nodded. "Well, Matilda said she saw Pinkie do it with her hooves, but she added another 2, and then she had another 2 hooves extra to count it," Twilight said, looking back at the book. "That's why I'm reading this. It's supposed to have every effect of the elements of harmony listed, and I'm trying to figure out if it's one of them, and if we can all do it." The white unicorn was absolutely dumbfounded. Matilda was a very reasonable donkey, and she never said anything outlandish, so surely she must have been seeing things. "Darling, I think you need to take a break from researching. Let's go find our horns filed," she offered, trying to cut another legendary Twilight nervous breakdown before it got too far. Oh, but I can't. This is really going to bug me until I find out what happened, Twilight moaned, turning a page with her magic. Twilight, it was probably just Pinkie Pie waving her legs about, or perhaps Matilda just glanced at and thought she saw more hosts than there really were, Rarity said, becoming worried about her friend's worry. I'm certain that it's nothing out of the ordinary. Maybe you're right. I wish I could put two and two together to find an answer to this mess, she lamented. Rarity smiled and was about to stand, but something caught her attention. As her grinning face turned into a mask of shock, Twilight blinked. What? What happened? She asked, and then she looked down at her hooves. She had indeed counted to two and two. 6 purple hooves were in front of her, simultaneously. The 2 unicorns shrieked at the top of their lungs. How did you do that? Rarity yelled, backing away from her haunches. I don't know. I just said the same thing Pinkie did. Twilight looked around helplessly. Now they're gone. White Unicorn pointed frantically. Where did they go? I don't know. I don't even know where they came from. Twilight yelled back at her. They were both scrambling about now, staring at the floor, fully expecting more hooves to sprout from it. What in Equestria? Rarity said, more than a little terrified. She peered down at herself to check for extra appendages that hadn't entered the library with. You try it, Twilight said. See if it happens to you. I am perfectly satisfied with the 4 legs I have now, thank you, she shot back, shaking slightly. Rarity, come on. We might be affected by some sort of spell, or curse, or something, Twilight demanded. Try it. Do it, you wimp. The white unicorn sat down, her lips trembling. Very well. I wish I could put two and two together and sort this all out. No! She screamed. Every 2 from her mouth drew a pair of white hooves, with her first with her front hooves, then her right ones, and then her rear ones, and then an extra set that seemed to sprout right up from the floorboards. Twilight immediately tried to touch them, but the second Rarity lost her train of thought, they vanished. What in the name of all that is fashionable is going on here? She screeched, curling into a ball on the floor. Twilight clung to her, trying to calm her down. I wish I knew. Oh wow! If we can do it, that means the others can too. We've got to tell them. Rarity nodded slightly, standing up. Warn them, more like. And after that, we need to figure out who cast this spell on us. Or if this is part of bearing the elements, Twilight mused, heading towards the door. Well, if it is, Princess Celestia can give her fancy jewelry to somebody else. I did not sign up for the 6-legged fabulous unicorn club, Rarity complained, following her friend out of the library. Applejack was examining the tree she was about to buck. Many harvests worth of experience had taught her that the force was not always the answer. Some of the trees were so laden with fruit, it took only one well-placed hoof to bring the apples down. This was one such tree. The earth pony turned around, selecting her left rear hoof to do the deed. With a woody thunk, she kicked the trunk, and then listened with a smile as the apples tumbled into the baskets arranged around the tree. Just as this noise ended, she heard another, unfamiliar one. When she realized it was the galloping of hoofs, she tilted her head. Another second passed before she saw Twilight and Rarity tearing down the path at full speed, calling her name. I'm over here, she yelled back, watching them turn and barrel straight at her. It took them just a moment to arrive, but much longer to catch their breath. What in tarnation? She blinked at them. What yellow bird is in such a twist? Applejack, Twilight gasped. 6 legs, Rarity breathed. We have them, and you might too. The earth pony stared at them, looking at each unicorn as she spoke. Are y'all feeling well? I only see 4 legs. Well, 8 total, she snickered. Count something, Twilight panted. 6 somethings, in pairs of 2. Is this some sort of prank? Applejack eyed them suspiciously, even though these 2 weren't generally known for their sense of humor. Cause I sure like to box part of the orchard before it gets dark. Please, Applejack, we're not trying to be funny, Rarity pleaded. Rolling her eyes, the earth pony looked for something to count. Fine, fine, I'll humor, she grumbled, looking around for something. Looks like I'm 6 apples short of a bushel. So that's 2, she began, counting off with her hooves as she usually did, and the unicorn stared intently. And 2, they leaned forward, eyes wide. And 2, what the heck? Applejack yelled, suddenly noticing 2 more orange hooves than there should have been. She was so rattled, she ran away from the extra pair, despite it promptly vanishing and smacking into the tree behind her. It's true, Rarity wailed dramatically as she checked on the dazed earth pony. We all have 6 legs. Wait, the pacing Twilight said, her voice taking that of a leadership tone as she sometimes got. We need to be sure. We've got to find Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. Why do I have 6 legs? Applejack asked, rubbing her nose and trying to stand. Rather, why did I have 6 legs? Twilight thinks it's an elements of harmony thing, but we're not sure. Yeah, the white unicorn explained, helping Applejack get up. Why in the world would the elements give us another pair of legs? Yeah, the earth pony blinked. Rarity shrugged helplessly. I have not the slightest idea, darling. But if our friends sprout extra limbs and we see them, I think Celestia will need to find some other ponies to be harmonious. They all decided to head back to Fluttershy's cottage right away, leaving a cloud of dust and a confused Applebloom, who was just walking up there in their wake. I just wanted 2 bits to go buy lemonade, the filly said, blinking. Fluttershy hummed a little tune to herself as she checked her mailbox. It had taken her from nearly the crack of dawn until now to finish the census. The fact that she had missed a few new arrivals complicated matters, but she finally got each and every fluffy bunny counted. Now she was just looking forward to a nice nap. As she riffled through the letters, why did that silly mail mare keep giving her Berry Punch's mail anyway? She felt the ground vibrating slightly underneath her hooves. Oh no, a stampede! She gasped, preparing to take flight and warn the town. When she had gotten a few feet off the ground, though, she saw the source of the din and tilted her head. Fluttershy! Applejack, Twilight, and Rarity all yelled, sliding to a stop as the Pegasus fluttered gently back to the earth. Hello, Earth Pony, she smiled, trying to mask her confusion. What's the rush? The 3 of them all looked at each other while they were panting for air, silently deciding who should be the group's spokespony. Rarity was the first to catch her breath, so she spoke up. Darling, if you're going to think this is absolute lunacy, but it's happened to all of us so far, she said, still panting a little. What happened? Fluttershy asked, in her confusion becoming concern. Well, we've all got 6 legs, she revealed, her eyes bulging as she thought she'd just informed Fluttershy that the world was ending. The Pegasus looked at each of her friends' lower extremities, squinting just in case she was missing something. I only see 4 each. They aren't there all the time, Applejack explained, and then thought of something to trigger the effect. How many baby bunnies were there this year? Oh, well, let me think, Fluttershy lifting off and hovering. There were 2 near the river. The other three watched with bated breath as she used her hooves to keep track. 2 more under that big magnolia tree. Everything seemed normal so far. And 2 more by the pond, she concluded. When she saw their jaws drop, she became uneasy. What? Did I miss some? Fluttershy, look! Twilight pointed. She glanced around, suddenly realizing she had 2 more hooves than normal. Her natural reaction was, of course, to shriek as loudly as possible and hide in a nearby bush. The extra hooves vanished the moment she started moving. This is ridiculous, Applejack lamented, taking off her hat. Twilight was engaged in a panic trot, her mind racing. What would we need this for? What are the elements of the trying to tell us? I don't want to be a six-legged fabulous unicorn, Rarity wailed, a leg across her forehoof for full dramatic effect. While the four ponies despaired about their interesting problem, Rainbow Dash appeared overhead and flew towards them at full speed. I heard screaming, she said, floating to a stop above them. Is everybody alright? The look she got from the four of them, including Fluttershy in the bush, made her heart jump in her throat. I didn't do it, she said, pointing a hoof at herself. Rainbow Dash, Twilight began, her voice as serious as Rainbow Dash had ever heard. I need to know how many clouds you've moved today. What? The blue Pegasus blinked, helplessly lost. This is serious. I need you to tell me exactly how many clouds you've moved. Use your hooves to keep track, Twilight ordered, sounding a bit like her mentor, a fair bit like her mentor when she was in a dire mood. Right, Rainbow Dash gulped. Let me see. There were 2 over the Everfree Forest. They all began to stare at her intently. Even Fluttershy poked her head out from the bush. 2 more over the town hall. Their mouths opened, and they leaned forward, eyes shining with anticipation. And, oh yeah, 2 more over Foggy Bottom Bog. Fluttershy fainted dead away, and Rarity almost followed suit. Applejack was so stupefied, she let her head drop to the ground. Rarity looked up to the sky, her mind desperately seeking an answer that wouldn't come. What? What? Rainbow Dash asked. What'd I do? Twilight pointed, as she was the only pony in any shape to point out by now. Rainbow Dash looked at the counted 6 iron hooves, but the extra pair was coming from just under her knees. Under her wings. She suddenly whirled around, slapping herself on the back to get them off. As before, though, they vanished the instant she started to move. That is it! Twilight shouted in frustration. Come on, every pony. I'm writing to the princess about this. Princess Celestia was seated in one of the great sitting pillows on the floor of the chamber, relaxing as her sister prepared to summon the night. As usual, a few magic scrolls had come in from her faithful student. She had just finished reading all of those when another appeared above her head. She caught it and opened it with her magic, and it was treated to a rambling treatise about how the phrase 2 and 2 and 2 and the act of counting with one's hooves caused the elements of harmony to grant their bearers an extra limb, and how Twilight didn't know what enemy required 6 limbs to defeat, but they were ready to face it, except for perhaps Rarity, who had added the notion about 6 legs being not very fabulous indeed. By the time she was done with the letter, the alicorn had an amused smirk on her face, figuring that she had just been the recipient of an organized practical joke. Her reply was short and sweet. My faithful students, if some foe requiring more than 4 legs would appear, I will be the first to let you know. Otherwise, I enjoyed the letter. I'm glad you've gotten a sense of humor. Yours truly, Princess Celestia. She rolled it up and sealed it, using her magic to send it on its way with a smile. With a contented sigh, she went back to unwinding, but the pile of scrolls sent by Twilight earlier caught her eye. 2 and 2? She chuckled, ticking them off with her hooves. Oops, I missed 2 more. She ticked those of 2, blinking it down at the pair of extra gold-shot hooves that sprouted up to help her. I think I need a vacation, she sighed. And that was the story. So, we're gonna take a break again. It can be either a 6-minute break. Wait. No, we're gonna take an 11-minute break. So, see you guys in 11 minutes. In the meantime, you are free to suggest more stories because this one was just selected on a whim. So, see you guys in 6 minutes. 11 minutes. So half past the hour.